Started Sydney, where I bought the building next to Chanel. Louis Vuitton paid 8 million and Chanel paid about 7, 8 million. One day they called me, do you want it? You have to pay 2.2 million, but within 2 weeks. And I took it. I was successful immediately the first year. I started with wanting 200,000 per month, but end of first year, I did 1 million a month turnover. And today is over $1 billion. This is one of the success of Hourglass today in Australia and globally. We treat everyone as family.
I'm glad we're able to work this out, Jannie. Do you prefer Jannie? Do you prefer Doctor? What's your preferred? How should I
Or
call
just call me Jannie.
it?
Whatever you like to call me.
Okay, I'll call you Jannie
I
then.
use Dato because that's only for Malaysia. They have to use Dato. Here they call me Dr. Jannie Chan.
Dr. Jannie. Okay, I'll call you Dr. Jannie then.
Okay. And what are you going to ask?
I wanted to learn about your story, learn about Hourglass, learn about, I know you're part of a lot of charities, learn about that. I saw some interviews and shows that you've done it in the past about how you had to start as a sales clerk and you became, you opened up your first Hourglass store, you talked about luxury. So there's so many
You
different things
mean
I
I
want
would
to
talk
dig in.
about my Singapore Retailers Association? I was president.
Yes,
Is it?
yes.
Okay. But that's, yeah. Okay, you can ask me anything.
Awesome, Jannie.
And who are your audience?
Our audience are sort of people that are interested in business and entrepreneurship. The demographic is probably late 20s to late 30s, people who maybe they're already working a job, but they've been passionate about starting a business.
Okay, so therefore young entrepreneurs who wants to be starting.
Right.
Okay, I started at 34.
Wow. What were you doing prior to
My
starting?
background, just to give you a bit of background, I think that's relevant to most people who wants to start entrepreneurship. I was born in Ipoh to a serial entrepreneur father who is also a politician in MCA. So since I was young, he'll take me everywhere with him, whether it's political rallies or we have our TCM. He's a Chinese medical doctor, Sensei from China. Well, went to Ipoh back in when he was 2 or 3 years old. So he grew up, but died at 60 when I was 16. But I think part of entrepreneurship that I've got, all the entrepreneur skills that I developed, was really following my dad everywhere, and he took me along. And I remember at 10 years old, he made me sit at a meeting with his business partners, and I didn't understand why. But out of that, I think I picked up something where it's still in me, where it says that money comes and go. Your credibility is more important. And I left Ipoh at 16 when I went to Melbourne to study for my A level. And in Melbourne, I went to a migrant school, interesting enough, where everyone don't speak English. They were just new migrants. And my physics teacher asked me if I live in a tree house. I said, yes, I swing from tree to tree. And during English, I'll be reading comics. And, but I was basically, even during school days, I was raising funds for the fun fair, to having fun fair talent time, to raise funds for our class that we won. And that's why I had to leave, because I was not studying hard enough to get to the A level. So that's my background. So I believe that when you want to be an entrepreneur, it's already some sort of spirit that is in you. Or in my case, I say subliminal, that I have been going with my dad when he was, we used to have Manchun Tong, a medical hall, and we made our own medical oil. And he was a sensei, and I followed him from Ipoh to Singapore by car, where he stopped by at all his sales students and sells the medical oil, and down to Singapore to meet the Hopa brothers. So it is that sort of memory in what I've gone through. Like political rallies, I would be there listening to all the politics of how they rubbish each other as opponents, or going to the airport to meet the Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman with him, or to the Menteri Besar, garden parties where they were still very colonial, there's British. So all those experiences led me to be who I am today, because I came to Singapore only in 1971. when I already graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in pharmacology. And my master's degree was physiology, and my master's degree was pharmacology, which was on the clinical research on beta blockers, antiarrhythmic, and hypertension drugs. So when I came to Singapore in 71, I actually taught medical school, physiology and pharmacology, first and third year students. But in 73, I was requested by my ex-husband, whose family has a watch business, to start as a sales girl. And I loved it. And I love selling watches. So from there, I started my first branch in 75, and 77 started my first company called Orchard Watch. And 79, I approached Metro, which was a listed retailer, to joint venture. And together we started the Hourglass in Orchard Road. So I suppose the experiences of me by my dad enabled me to understand going to business, and finding a joint venture partner who's got finance capabilities. And I was just a sales girl, PR girl. And that time, the family business was in North Bridge Road, which was where the shopping area was. This is until 79, when Orchard Road started developing, and there were hotels, and the tourists came here. So that's where I decided that there was a market position, a niche position that the family was not prepared to go to. So that's where it is. So the ability to also understand about modern retailing, because I lived in Melbourne from 63 to 71. So where you've got air-conditioned shops, you've got modern retailing. And again, it's through more observation and experience. I work as a sales girl in Maya selling shoes. So that sort of experiences gave me the confidence to start Hourglass, I would say, as a young student in Melbourne.
When you first started Hourglass and had that luxury experience, were stores like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Chanel, were they already doing that, or were you ahead of the curve?
No, we were ahead of the curve. First of all, like former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew said, I was in World Economic Forum with him. And when we came back, he says, Jannie is an entrepreneur, not a watch sales girl. And I think it was the recognition at that time. We had Cartier, okay, as a brand. The family business had Rolex and Patek Philippe. And in my shop in Orchard Road, in Colombo Court, North Bridge Road, I was already selling Rolex and other brands, Longines and all. So coming to start with my partner, Metro, Joe P. They already had Cartier boutique. We set up the first Cartier boutique next to me, Charles Jourdan and Ted Levitas. Vuitton was never in. So we were the forerunners under Transmarco that had the Cartier agency and the branded goods. In fact, it's Joe P. who had, from Metro, who had the already the partnership with Cartier, and we were the ones to set up the first Cartier boutique in Asia Pacific. So it is actually my partner, Joe P., who under Transmarco, they have fashion brands, but we had watch brands like Piaget. In 1979, Gérald Genta, who's the Picasso of timepieces, he came to me with his drawings, and I recognized that he has something that no one else have. So we started building the business with him. And he was the first one that did complicated watches. Audemars Piguet had it, but they never publicized it. But Gérald Genta had a huge collection of it. So by having the first retail shop, which is 1,002 square feet in an air-conditioned place like in Melbourne, we were the first one. None of the Singapore friends have that. No one had the money in 79. It was the Filipinos that had the money. It was the Bruneians who's got the money. It was the Indonesians that had the money, and they were our main customers, and the Hong Kong people. And they love our Gérald Genta watches because it was unique. We were selling at that time 20,000 to 200,000. Now, at that time, most watches were just a few $100s, but I saw a niche, And the customers that came to me were royalties from Malaysia. So I started building the royalties. The Brunei royalties was my main customer, and I used to visit them in Brunei. So I was actually a traveling sales girl as well. So you actually adapt to who your customers are. And I had to start creating new watches with Gérald Jonta. So every month, every few months, we've got new watches to sell and creating our own designs. So that was a niche that I saw, and that's the experience from being in Malaysia, which already is very wealthy. We've got royalties. And then in Brunei, you've got the richest family. We've got oil, and they could buy watches every day if they want to. And I do sell to them every week. And then we have the Filipinos. They were the richest at that time, the wealthy during the Marcos days. And then we had the Indonesians. They were the wealthy people. And then with the Hong Kong developers, like Henderson Land and all that. So we had tourists, but not Singaporeans. They wouldn't come to my shop. They think that, that time Singapore was just starting back in the 70s.
That's so cool. When you opened up that JV in 1979, were you going off on your own doing that? Did you do it with your ex-husband and their family? How much was it you doing it together, and how much of it was it you doing it on your own?
Okay, the family was not involved. My ex-husband was a doctor at that time in Yishun Clinic, full-time doctor, where he's got a practice Monday to Sunday, 8:30 to 10 p.m. But he does come during that time. He does come in during lunchtime and Sundays. And the work there really was like for 24 hours a day, 365 days a week for at least 20 years. That's why I said if everyone wants to be an entrepreneur to be successful, you do need a gestation period of 20 years and daily working on it to ensure that you're there with the market, the picking up of the market, and the changing trends and capturing the customer base, which keep on changing.
How many Hourglass stores are there today?
Oh, that's where my son have expanded from 40 now. He's expanding shops everywhere. I just heard today that we just have a shop, Hourglass, Watches of Switzerland in this Jewel. I just found out last week. I went to Vivo City and I found that they've expanded. Michael came in to Hourglass in 1999 after his army from Oxford Brookes University with honors. And he wanted to be a banker. And I suggested that, look, he has been trained, and in the past, even in the family business, I'll take him to the shop since he was 3 months old. And I always bring him to the shop when I was starting, and the Orchard Watch at that time. And even when at that time, I will bring him to the shops in Scott Square where I make him clean the glass tables and do the things that everyone does. So he actually started from very basic. So I found that time, Hourglass, we have invested in two Swiss factories, Daniel Roth and Gérald Jonta, since 1994. So it just makes sense to bring Michael to work in this Swiss factory. And he did work for 2 years in Daniel Roth, where he had to understand how watches are made. And more important, I saw the niche that he should and could develop and grow was the complicated watches, which was at that time, we were specifically with Gérald Jonta, and he's a master of all these timepieces, complicated watches. We used to sell 12 $1 million watches a year. So that's my niche. And that became, now Michael, in fact, is, I would say, in the world, he's the only watch retailer that had a manufacturing background, that worked in a Swiss factory for 2 years, Daniel Roth. And in 2001, the Hourglass sold Gérald Jonta and Daniel Roth to Bulgari. So Bulgari owns these two brands now. So in this sense, and I can see now the latest, Michael is now the chairman of the foundation to select the top watches for LVMH Group. And they actually had a Gérald Jonta Mickey Mouse watch that went for a very high price. And he's the president of he's the chairman of the jury. So he is the best person. And today, Hourglass is growing because of Michael's passion in understanding watchmaking and the ownership of complicated watches and the understanding of working with different, not just gold and platinum, which is out of touch now, but more using titanium, different types of metals, different types of things, and colorful, which is the younger groups, like in the 20s, 30s, 40s. So mine is only 48. And he started when he's in the 20s. So he's done a good job in following the trend and his age group. And the right group that has now are serial entrepreneurs themselves or tax money making, that they want to start investing in watches. And if they follow the trend that Michael is setting, and he's now putting together designers and watch manufacturers and art. The latest one is art and watches. So for any young entrepreneurs like yourself or anyone who wants to invest, that would be the right thing, because the standard ones like Patek Philippe and Rolex, they're very limited, or Audemars Piguet. They've got huge following already. But the complications and the ability for Michael now working with the watch manufacturers and to be able to create watches to a limited amount, where there's 10, 100 or 1,000 for the global market, this is the way to go. And I'm very proud that that's the niche that he's beginning to, I can see a sense that he's really being very creative and innovative. So that goes for all the young entrepreneurs. You see a niche, which I see a lot of them. You see a trend, and you want to be a trendsetter. Like me at that time, I want to be niche. And I saw the niche for me was in creating watches for my client who's got money to buy every month, every week. So I visit them and I give them designs. They pick the designs, or I make the watches, and then I sell to them their first one. So we are really the first ones to have limited edition. But now everyone is going for limited edition. And now you have the Rolex and the Patek. You have to put queues. You have to wait for your number. So, but the watch is now a collector's piece. It used to be just a timepiece. It never used to be an asset piece. But today it is an asset class of its own. And Mike has found his niche, which I'm very proud. And that is where the followers of Michael today, I'm sure they will have their own watch collection, and they will enjoy the growth of the market, because the designs and the way, and I'm beginning to see now every 10 to 20 years, the fashion changes, the color changes, the technology changes. So the price point, if you buy today, like those who bought from me 40 years ago, has increased a lot. So if you look at it as an investment, it's art, but in the form of technical watches or the limited edition, there's bound to be a market for it. So it's a good investment. Now, at my time, that's one thing that I realized that was very interesting, and I learned about gold. In 1973, when I sold the first Rolex watches, the gold price was 30. Today, the gold price is about 2,020, 2,200. So that's why you can't have gold anymore. So we have to go back to technical and designs. And then to have probably the materials that your watch cases are in. And then the color that is trendy to this period of time. So there's a lot of opportunities for young entrepreneurs just to go along with what they're passionate about, because you can't think of it as a business. You've got to enjoy it as a hobby, and you have got to love your customers. And your customers, to me, my family is actually my Hourglass family, because I spend more of my 24 hours a day, at least 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours a day with my Hourglass. that I'm spending my daytime. My kids, like Michael, at 11, I have to send him to boarding school, and Audrey at 13. So we went to the Lee School in Cambridge at 13, because that's the only time that I can ensure that they've got a good environment. And every 6 weeks, an AZ, then we go and meet him and see him, or he comes back at the end. And during holidays, we just travel with the kids, Audrey and Michael and Sabrina, to take them to all our business meetings, all our business trips in Switzerland, so they become global because of the business that we're in. So that's where we are.
You talked about sort of watches being an asset, being an investment. If someone bought a Rolex in 1985, a Rolex Datejust, Oyster bracelet, something simple, has that watch gone up in value and kept up with inflation?
At that time, I'm not sure, okay, about the models and all, but certainly I'm sure gold Rolex watches would have gone up in price, even for the sheer weight of gold. The models themselves today, I can see that Rolex themselves have grown a lot wider and broader to adapt to a bigger market. And just not in terms of this normal standard watches like Daytona, Submariner, and all that. It is more into giving the younger people a chance. So there's just more on the basic, more on the the mechanical can be the same, but the design is different. So to allow everyone who has limited edition, if you like that, definitely is investment. You'll pay for it because someone will sell it to you. Because even getting it is not possible. You've got to be our glass customer, you have to be local, so you've got to be on the waiting list, and that's where we are. So the person who bought it and the next person who wants it, even at full price, they have to pay for it because they want it, and that's all.
Right now, we're in a market over the last 5 years where people are chasing the authorized dealers. The customers are trying to get a watch. Was that always the case? What was it like 40 years ago?
Well, when I first started, we were just making 1% turnover. It's a turnover. The buyers were the Japanese. They were not no Singaporeans, okay? The buyers from Hourglass that time, for Patek Philippe, were the Japanese buyers mainly, and they were popular. That's why I started the Hourglass in Gold Coast back in 1988, because they have the Japanese clients and I don't get them here. They all go to duty-free shop. So we started our Gold Coast with Japanese staff for Japanese customers. Then in 1982, most of the royalties were our customers coming to Singapore. So I started Hourglass when there was no more tax in 1982, and to service our local customers. So at that time, in Japan, when Momoi, who's the GM now, he was a student in Gold Coast. When then I trained him, brought him to Singapore to train him. Then he's now the GM of Hourglass in Ginza. And his son now has just started working for us in Singapore, so he's the second generation. So I would say the watch business culture is a very specific culture in a very specific trade. One of the things I'm very proud of the Hourglass family is all the countries that I set up still have the same general managers. They have not left us for 38 to 40 years. And the boutique managers, the particular one in Taka, is Thomas. And I would say I really, really appreciate. He was a delivery boy. At that time, you deliver watches to your customers, you cycle. And I forced him to learn back in 1999 to learn computer. I remember he says, I'm going to have nightmare. And I said, no, nightmare with pleasant dreams, because by the time your kids are ready, they'll be all using computers. And today, he's the he's the boutique manager of Taka, which is our highest performing retailer. And he's disciplined. And then the other one is Dinah. She's in Raffles Hotel. And she's about 42 years with us. and most of our human resource, they've been with me for 20 odd years. Our CFO, they've all been with us for 20 or 30 over years. And that, I believe, is a strength of Hourglass. And because we are family, they are our internal customers. And I wanted to nurture and develop them like I develop my kids, which are not here. So whatever knowledge, information, courses I take in the first 20 years, I send them to the same courses so that we are aligned. And I've always maintained myself to be the centipede head. I've got one head, I've got 100 legs. And the last one, if they don't understand, they will be pulling us down. So all the legs must have the same information, and so that we can run together. Now, don't forget the mentality of Singaporeans until recently. The owners like to hold on to power, and the power means you've got information and you keep all the statistics and the information to yourself. You don't share. So when I was president of SRA back in 1997, 98, the government at that time was only supporting one retailer, and that was Robinson. So they get the benefits of the grant, of everything. So I decided to speak to the minister at that time, Mr. Lim Swee Say, to say, how about giving 20 of our council members or retailers the benefit of what you give grants to Robinson so that we can all be trained. So we started this, and we also have our relationship with Stirling University to give diploma courses and eventually to have the MBA courses. Now, Singapore Retail Association was founded by Owen Price, who at that time was Fitzpatrick, Cold Storage, and then, Dairy Farm, and Joe P. Ong, who was Metro, my partner. So when I became the president, there were 20 members. All of them were big departmental stores like Metro, Robinsons, NTUC, Cold Storage, IKEA, and at that time, we all benefited working with the government in 1999. You're too young to remember, but we have the Asian crisis, financial crisis, when all of us who actually ventured overseas because of the rupiah, the exchange differences, we all had to close our Indonesian operation. It doesn't work. And everyone was losing money, including Hourglass, the whole climate change, and we have to consolidate. And what Hourglass was doing at that time, we were doing like 400 over million already. But that's because I was selling not just watches, but jewelry and stones to my royalty customers, especially Brunei. So when that happened, I found that the Hourglass retail has shrunk to 200 million, although we were in the same countries. And the average buying price, instead of 20,000 to 1,000,000, became 3 to 5,000. So that's when, at that time, we also had the StarHub had started having BlackBerry. We have started having the email system. We started having IT. So that's when we had to go back to basic, and that's when we actually started having Singapore customers that would come in at that time. And we have to start promoting again in-house to local customers, not tourists anymore, because we have to start working with the locals, developing, the Rolex brand, marketing them, branding with Cartier, branding with Patek Philippe, and doing shows. And we started concentrating on charities and more things within the Hourglass group, within the boutiques, which is today what Michael has inherited and the way to go. So, and then don't forget, we had the SAAS, where 90% of the customers would not come to shop because of SAAS. Then we have got 9/11. And 2008, we suffered through the global financial crisis, and where the rentals were very high. So SRA, now with the 20 Retailers Council, we worked with the Ministry of Trade and Industry at that time was, now the DPM, Heng Swee Keat. And we worked with the Ministry of Finance, which was, now the President, Kamal. And we work together with all our retailers to give information, to open up for the first time all the store information, who are the client base, how is the shop, what's the profit margin. And then we work with Spring, with Chong Boon, who is now the EDB, to get them to be involved with us to negotiate our rentals with the people like Marina Bay Sands, the Capital Land, and everyone, where before it was very draconian. We are not allowed to share the rental landlord's leases, but now everyone is open. So it took a mindset through SRA, the 20 retailers working daily together to resolve all the crises that we've gone through, where all the customers have gone, and we're developing Singapore customers. So I remember that for Hourglass, we wanted the mystery shoppers, because I now want to know how are my staff selling and treating the customers. And now that's been adopted by the government as well, because the mystery shoppers will allow us to know how our staff are performing. Then through SRA, we brought in the Freeman's program, where before I thought, okay, the GM or the manager, if there's profit sharing, they'll get 50%. And I had a shock during this period where the Freeman program allowed the productivity of every hour that they measure. And suddenly you realize that the managers that they're giving the best rewards are not the people that are really performing. So it is the salespeople that are performing. So I changed the system of performance of benefits, because then that was changed. And then the GM, the managers have to leave quickly because they are not used to adapting to selling anymore. They were managing. So these were the things that within the Hourglass Group that I set up in order to get the maximum benefit. And I would say Hourglass had a very good relationship for 20 years with American Express. They used me as their poster girl for their excellent service award. And then we work with them to give grants and to give whatever benefits to the customers. So we started working, and then with SPH, SRA set up the Great Singapore Sale that was copied by Dubai. They were giving kilobar gold. We were giving gifts by retailers. So we set up that. SRA set that up, working with STB to get this going. And then we worked with SPH to publicize it. Great Singapore Sale was a great success. And then you get Dubai taking it by giving gold bars. So everyone can copy each other or pick up something that works, because Alaba worked with Wisma before. So he was in Singapore when he was working with Wisma, and he saw that this was successful. So he adopted it back in Dubai. So you can see that we are all learning from each other. And it's how much you want to learn. And it's always good as entrepreneurs that wants to go for a specific market. It doesn't matter, just copy and make it better.
In Sydney, I've been to all the different watch dealers from, J. Farron Price, Kennedy, Watches of Switzerland, Swiss Concepts. And I've been to Kennedy, Sydney. But Kennedy, Sydney seems to be the most hardest, like I've been able to build a relationship with all these other boutiques, but Kennedy, I don't know if it's, I meant Hourglass, Sydney specifically, seems to be the hardest. I'll come in, I think I visited the store maybe 4 times over the last 3
From
years.
Sydney?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I started Sydney back in 1970 in the Rocks. You're probably not born yet.
Yes,
Then
I'm
I
not.
started Sydney in 72, where I bought the building next to Chanel. And it was a very strange thing, because Louis Vuitton paid 8 million and Chanel paid about 7, 8 million. And they wanted mine, which was used to be a Cartier boutique. And one day they called me, do you want it? You have to pay 2.2 million, but within 2 weeks. And I took it. And that was the Fifth Street, and was interesting. And that's how I started Hourglass there. And Louis Kennedy and Martha, which is why Louis is a fantastic business person and Martha is a great salesperson. Okay, now I understand the son took over, but they had at that time top customers. They have already the casino people, the packer. I mean, once you've got regular customers like me, they don't open and go global, but I did because I've got, I mean, I studied in Melbourne and I started Sydney. I started Gold Coast in 1988 when I was following the Japanese. Then I bought Melbourne shop in 1994 because that's the only place I can buy. I can buy our own building. Then Michael, I think, recently bought the building on the corner, which is now the Rolex Center. So in Melbourne, in Australia, we can invest. So, which I'm very happy. And as a result of that, Hourglass, yeah. And I still have Stella and the first young man that worked with us called Goski. They're still there. So when I'm there, they'll make me meet all their customers, which is where we are. In Melbourne is my sister Bibi. She started with me. And when I bought 252 Collins Street, and now it's developed into a building. Look, I mean, we have to find opportunities for ourselves and create those opportunities. And today becomes a legacy.
Does I guess I'm gonna have to find someone else to talk to. I'm gonna rock up to Hourglass Sydney and maybe hopefully I'll speak to some.
Ask for Stella.
Stella, okay.
Stella is the
I'll ask.
manager.
I'll ask.
Tell her that you and they will serve you well. They're very good service. That's one thing the Hourglass we have is Amanda will go and train. We train and retrain our staff. And that is something that we must do. And the one thing that today, which I'm very proud of, is from day one, I put all my 10 people together. I don't care whether at that time they were trained from the good salesman from the family office Liche or Watches of Switzerland. I've got Betty and Sandra, or Thomas, which is the delivery, or the accountant. I put them all together. And everyone have to tell us each what they're doing. Until today, Michael is still holding that. But it's because of the COVID, instead of every week, they have once a month. But every week they have their Zoom meeting. Is I think one of the legacies of the Hourglass that I've put in is communication, meeting each other together and sharing information. Because without sharing information, then you're standalone. You don't get the sense that you are one family. The other thing is since COVID, which was a period of 2019, I came back in 2021, and the whole thing has changed. People are working from home and start coming back, and then the whole market has changed. And Michael has now employed more IT people. So when I come into his floor on the 11th floor, all these marketing people, everyone sits in their room, or even the accountant, they sit in their room. They're all not talking to each other. They're all Zooming, or they're all doing their work. And I thought this is very strange. And no one knows anyone. No one says hello. Everyone is just busy doing their work. And I said, this must change. So I started cooking for them because I love to cook. I've learned how to cook during the period. And I start coming in and cook for them. Chef Jay is cooking for you. And then I remember Chinese New Year last year. Amanda said, look, we're having Chinese New Year. Can you come? Because I'm not available. This human resource. So I went there and I looked at them. This is the back end corporate. There's 70 of them. And on the floor, and most of them I don't know. And there were 70% girls and 30% male. And I said, okay, everyone don't talk to each other. Everyone don't know each other. They just come back. And I thought, that's really not the Hourglass culture. So I started telling them we are family, okay? We have to talk to each other. You have to share. And by the time I finished telling them my story, and there were a few of my older staff there, which is more the back-end staff. This is the back-end staff. I saw them in groups. And I continue this till today. I'll cook them something that's feedback I like, I don't like. Then I start realizing that the older staff like the older things, the younger staff can take this, and some won't take this, some won't take that. And I said, okay, let me see how I can change. And today, everyone will greet me now because before they don't know me. or the new people. And I notice that they're talking to each other. They'll sit and eat when I bring it, they eat in the, we've got rooms and we've got the reception room that, now they eat together. They're talking to each other. They're saying that I like, I don't like. And some of the older staff will say, oh, my mom cooks better curry than this. Okay, they'll give it to me. Or this is good. So food becomes the bond. And now my human resource manager realized it. He said, eating together, food is bonding. So she's got it now. And that's why I say this is what it is. Because you share the same food, you like, you don't like, it doesn't matter. And if they like more, if there are more left, they take home. So this is something that I'm evolving, and I'm now getting my PA and the human resource to not just, I cook from home, you come home, see how I do it, give it to the 11th floor, the 12th floor, and then make sure who gets what and who you call to make sure they get it. And now we've got it very fine-tuned. So even if I cook at 10, so these are things that are very personal, that you must care about your internal family, because they are family. They are people that spending more time at work with you. But this is what I found very different, because even the time now that I've been doing it since January, February, now everyone has changed. And even my CFO one day will say, okay, look, he even asked my PA what cake does she like. So he bought me a cake. There's Manchang, who's in LinkedIn as well. And I just told him, why are you not more active in coming in instead of just being in your accountant's directory and all? Because you're the key person, group CFO, but why are people not hearing from you? Because I think they don't just want to hear from professionals, but I'm encouraging them to be entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs within the organization. I always call entrepreneurs. And you've got to reach out to people. Now, my job today is that when I'm in the office, is to look for effectiveness and efficiency of how they're doing their work. Professionally, everyone knows what to do. Okay, but whether they're intensive of their time spent, that's what I look at, because I'm a time person. I look at my clock. I look at my clock 10 to 12. This is what I want to do, to 12 to 2. And I've got different things and different plans. And I make sure that my PA, my driver, or my maid at home understands the time, because the moment I leave, I want to be there in time, and I need to be coordinated, because I still measure time as my productivity. I always tell my time is $10,000 an hour, because that's the only way you can relate to your time. There must be a cost to it. So the cost must be, what are you spending to make it work? And the other thing that I'm teaching my team now is, I say, I don't care. You just listen. You may not know. Don't give a judgment, and don't give yourself an opinion and object to it and close off. I said, that's the main thing now I'm trying to change my team, especially the management team. They all know everything and they're not listening. So coming back to that, one day I went to the pantry and I saw two Indian gentlemen there and the two MIS team there. I said, what are you doing here? I asked the gentleman, oh, we're here to meet the group CFO. I said, really? I said, okay, and what time is your meeting? 2:30. I said, this is 12:30 now. Come up with me. So I brought him up and introduced. I said, what's happening? Do we really need MIT people that specialize to make appointments for you? But you should be the one who should know what you want. Pick up the phone, get your whoever it is to call them and make an appointment, and you talk to them. You tell them what you want. That's what I see the weakness. The other weakness is, I saw my human resource GM on the phone talking to the insurance company, and I sat there for an hour. I said, what's happening? Why? They want to change the system. This is insurance. I said, but it's at the operation level. It's not at your insurance level, which is your function to make sure that you know. But I recognize that they don't know how to work or delegate back or give back to the right person. So I went downstairs, I saw the GM of the stocks, and I said, do you know about this insurance thing that you need the back end and the front end? He said, yes, of course I know. I say, yeah. Then why are they talking to Amanda? But shouldn't they be talking to you directly since you know? Now, this is what I walk around. And by walking around, I'm beginning to see things that they're doing a job. And this is something that I think CEOs should know. Everyone is doing a job. They're doing a good job. But in between jobs that has to be coordinated either between the CFO or to the MIS team that's been delegated to it, or whether well, in this case, I suppose the info people have got new recommendation, so they go through the system. But at the same time, how do I get it to the top people to also understand that you've got to initiate to find out what there is that you may not have that could make your efficiency system? Because I set it up. I know what I want. I know when I go to my boutiques, who is in Australia, in Sydney, I know that in the morning I want to know the stocks before I know the stocks that goes to the safe. I know the stocks the next morning so that there's no theft. I want to know. I want to know how many people come to my shop at that time. This 99. How many are men? How many women? What is their age group? And how many buy? How many inquire? That's what I want. Okay. And then I need to know the bottom line for me in one day. What's the bottom line today? And every day, group together, they send it to the group CFO so that I get it immediately at the same time. So I know. But because I set up the system, I know what I wanted. Everyone else is doing a job. And so I would say today, I have numbers. In 3 days, I'll know what it is. But I don't believe anyone does that because they don't know what they want. But being coming from the scientific background, I know what I want is data. Data by the day. Stocks, I know, is my money. So I need to know my stocks that are invested. And then I only need to know the age and the turnover. I need to know my direct expense every day. So which is my rent. Okay? I need to know my indirect expenses. I need to know my gross profit margin. I started telling you 1% because at that time, the watches, they give you 60 days credit. So I can use that money to turn around because I was short of cash. Then I can. So when you understand the business and you're using a business mind and you know what you want, then you develop a system to suit yourself. That's why I feel that everyone can do it, but you just have to work hard. You just have to have a very clear mind, what you want, and go for it. Anyone can do it. And I'm happy to help if there's a simple way to you or whatever it is that I can help answer some of the common questions. But at the end of the day, it's yourself. Take it as a hobby, enjoy it. I love meeting people. The moment I was in the family business, I saw all the Australians coming in. And where were they going? To Peter Chew? And I said, okay. So then I went to, my family owns, my dad started Chan Brothers, the travel agency. So, and then because we were part of the IATA group, so by chance I was introduced to the IATA. So I then went to Australia, to Melbourne, and I wanted to meet them to recommend me to the tourist agent so I can start putting a card service to charm you. So I start giving all the people over there to come to Liche in North Bridge Road, where we can sell to them. And then you make friends. That's how I was a super sales girl because I was interested. And that's what it is. So you just have to be there, love your job. And although I taught medical students, medical, what first year, third year, I gave that up. But I enjoy being a sales girl. So, and my family, because my dad wanted us to be doctors, so there are 7 doctors in the family, 1 girl, 3 boys, all married doctors. So I didn't want my kids to be academic. I just want them to do what they want to do so that I take them along and that the choice is theirs. But Michael, of course, has to be hourglass. Audrey can be whatever she wants to do. And she started Zoop Malaysia with Lincoln in KL and they sold it, I think, to whatever. So that's where we are. So everyone can be an entrepreneur. It comes back from your passion. Or in my case, I was just doing a job, but I love my job. So I grew from my job.
If all
So
your,
that's my belief.
if all your siblings, sisters and brothers are doctors, who took over your father's business?
My dad died at 60 when I was 16 in Melbourne. That's why the Chan Brothers was sold Bantun Chong was recently sold. My mom came to Singapore to be with me, so she helped me look after my kids.
Mm.
So we sold all. We sold my mom's when she came over in some generation. We sold the tin mine, and that was good. The tin mine, the rubber plantations, and the shops and all that time. It was good because it was 1-to-1. And even at that time, my mom, when I was 18, I was no 19, 20, I knew my brothers and sisters. I brought them to Melbourne to study, even though I was there very young. And I bought a house. My mom just sent me the money. And I remember Australian to was 1-to-1. No, not 1-to-1, maybe less than that. But Singapore was 1-to-1. So I bought a house. And I brought one of my brothers and sisters there. So I think coming from a natural instinct that I buy my house, I don't want to pay rental. So that was it. So I think it's common sense. At the end of the day, I truly believe it's common sense. I truly believe till today it's common sense. Okay? If that's what you want, it's a number game. You've got it. If I can make money from my family, from my friends first for 2 years before my brother came, they pay rental to me. So when my brothers came, I've got a house to bring them in. And that's it. So it's just knowing what you have. And at that time, I was lucky. I did my master's in Baker Medical Research Institute, Alfred Hospital, that's connected to Monash. I was paid $80 a week. So that was good. So for $40, I brought my sister over and put her in Campbellwell. My brother went to Melbourne High. Can you imagine? I got them into Melbourne High. And my other little brother came to Melbourne because mom came with me. So he was 12 years old. I got him to international school, which is UWC now. Then he went to Melbourne to do medicine. So my two brothers did medicine in Monash. So I don't know. I was just natural. 16, my dad died. So I've got to take over the family to take care of them with my mom. And my mom took care of my brothers and sisters, my family, my kids. So it's symbiotic.
And is your background, are your parents Chinese, Singaporean? What's your heritage, Jannie?
I'm Hakka, hardworking women. Hakkas are hardworking. My dad actually, I'm just going back to find out. I just found out that I have a picture given to me of my granddad in 1905 that he was a Manchurian Mandarin officer. And that's what I'm going to go back to find now. And that came in 1902. And he's one of the two Manchurian officer, and he was a sensei, Chinese sensei. That's why I'm into linzi now, because linzi, we sold linzi and we make our own tiger balm. So I'm going back to trace that. And he was very good friends with the Au Bun Ho family. So as young, I used to come with him. We drive into the Jade House. And I was told by my dad that, or my mom, that Sang Fu Suk Meh, the third one, used to, in 1945, during the war, they used to stay in the same house. So I grew up a period when it was just after the war. Then we hear the plane and all that. And we make our own medicine. So that's why I believe how we are brought up, the family environment, the experiences that we as a child is exposing our kids to. That whether it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor or whatever, it is experiences that you go through that becomes very much who you are. And my dad exposed me to everything. My mom is different. She makes sure that my sister and I will wash her clothes once a week, we'll wipe the house floor once a week, we go to the wet market. So with that, so we've got a whole lot of different experiences. And as a result of that, we are who we are. We are balanced. And she's the trustee of the Cameron Highlands um, temple till she was 90. And every holiday, school holiday, we have to go up there to study because she's doing work there. And when dad died, she had a big Buddha in the house, and every weekend her friends would come and pray. So we bought with a spiritual element. But I was so arrogant at that time because I was in MGS in primary, in Sec 4, I became a Christian. And I believed that everyone is a heathen. And my mom would let the monks and the people sit and listen to me say that they're all heathens and you have to be Christian. So I would say my mom is open to whatever I want to say or do. she allowed me to go through that experience without telling me I'm wrong. And I think going backwards, this is really something that I appreciate. If I want to buy a house, okay, how much? Just send it to me. Never, can you do it? Are you sure you can do it? I just did it. It was my professor, Dr. Nader, says, you don't buy the first house. It's a timber house for that price. You have to look more. Then in the end, I found a solid house with 24 fruit trees. So with a fish pond. So I suppose with going through experience, good and bad, you learn. Like now I'm learning a lot the last 15 years on legal matters since I had separated from my husband. And all I did was everyday court papers. So I've become a very good litigant in person and defendant in person, learning the law that no one else will bully women anymore. That's my next chapter.
What's your current focus? Yeah, tell me about this next chapter, Jannie. Has
Oh, my
the
life.
yeah, has it already finished the split, or is it still ongoing?
Almost. That's why you got me at a good time. Remember earlier I was not ready to talk at all. And I just then decided after the 27th of February, it was my daughter's 51st birthday. And I said, okay, I feel good now. I think I've got my life together. I can move now to my Save Our Planet Foundation, which I started in 2004, planting 7 billion trees, now 8 billion trees. Because being a scientist, I went back to biotechnology, sunk in cost of science, because everyone is going to science now. Finally, they realized, I realized it 20 years ago, which I was fortunate, and the Save Our Planet Foundation and investment. So I bought scientific work. So everything, Save Our Planet Foundation, which is foundation as well, which is planting 8 billion trees using super grow teak trees, hemp and bamboo, so that you cut the time of 50 years to 15 years. So you have a financial model. And the other one is wellness and well-being. My linser from my dad and granddad that I was read on the document which was given to me by a Dr. K.K. Tan. And I read that in the documents of Professor Mizono, they took a literature from Chan Baishan where they tested with 3F3, which is was anti-cancer. So I bought the work and I went to China and visited them. And then I found that I could send our people to go inside the site, which is the Empress Linzer, 10 kilometers, 10 years, we've got it. Then by the time I got it, the person I contacted with was Professor Weiser from Haifa University. He sent someone to Shanghai to pick it up. Now we're growing mycelium there. And he found all the central bioactives, which is amino acids in there. But in the meantime, with the beta glucan, with the work that I've got and the Linzer, being a Monash graduate, I graduated from there, as I said, Monash, and I did my master's, and I was a Distinguished Alumni Award back in 2001. And when I was at Monash, every year the Monash graduate, the vice chancellor, they come to my house, and we set up the graduation center, and the vice chancellor was the dean, Richard Larkin, who was the dean of medical faculty in Melbourne. So he got me to contact Professor Milton Hearn, who did the analysis, who did use our linser to take out, isolated it, characterized it, and found the molecular structure, a few of them. So we call it beta-glucan 131416 for anti-cancer, we know, and it's got wellness. So that's my next chapter because my ex-husband closed all my businesses. Now I'm ready to go. And that is where it's all scientific and it must be holistic, totally the total supply chain. Because if learning from the hourglass business, I can build a brand, they can take it away from you. So unless you create your own brand or unless you create your own product, and in this case, we grow our own product in China, in Chilean, and Temasek Life Science did the DNA. So we know that this is the DNA of our species. we go to the original and pick up the mycelium from the original. We can grow it from organically in Jilin, where the mayor introduced me to the farmers at the base of Chiang Pai Shan, so that you get the same soil condition. And we have already extracted it in Monash and characterized it. And we're ready to go live soon. That's where the timing came so I would say karma, synchronicity, whatever it is. It's time for me to come back now after 14 years, 2010 since I separated or divorced till now. So 14 years. A lot has happened to my life.
One, I want to thank you for your time.
So your timing, I can't believe it. And the other one is Sanita. She saw my biography, and within a day, she made my biography. I can't believe it. LinkedIn style. I can't. That's why I was amazed, and that's why I suddenly was never involved with LinkedIn, except being there, connected with professor from IMD that was connected with me, or whoever was connected with me past 40 years, up to 40 years, who knows me when I first started Hourglass, and suddenly lost me. If you look at Google, they say, where is Jannie Chan, who's the CEO? So that's the question that you're asking. And I was taken completely off the planet, partly because I wanted Michael to be the person. He's the one that's on face, but the foundation is what people are wondering. I realize who's behind it. When I look at Google, they say, where's Jannie Chan? Where's this? Who's the CEO? So I said, so yeah, at the space now where everyone is wondering what happened, so I would say this is spiritual. It's certainly happening at the same time when I'm just ready to come back and to share what I believe. And the whole world has changed today. And I'm starting to talk to new people that I would never talk to before. And young people, I say, oh my God, these are young people. I say, I've got to see what they're thinking. And the way that you think and the way you are using Zoom, and in her case, is within less than one day, she got my whole biography totally in sync. And I'm just so shocked. And I'm just telling everyone, hello, this is a new world. And I want to bring the old world to the new world to help all of you who want to make sure that there's still fundamentals in the old world if you want to make money and to grow a business. It's not going to be fast. It's going to take at least 10 to 20 years because they're dealing with customers on relationship. You're not dealing and you're just wanting to make solid money and solid profits. And I think this is the time. No one is going to invest in these flip things. This to say, okay, I've got AI. AI is a tool where it's doing a singular function. You have to be holistic when you're building a business. You've got to be passionate about it. You've got to train everyone that's working with you to be successful with you. As a group, you grow together, you group together, you want to go overseas, you go one by one in different way. You have to put your whole essence of who you are. The whole spirit of what the hourglass is. The hourglass is family. It's a family philosophy. It's taking care of everyone. And I think this is what is being shortchanged with the young people. I can see my younger staff who wants to make it, okay? So after a while, they take whatever we have, they go and start up a new shop, or they joint venture with people, it goes off. And if you look at those in the 40s and 50s, they're still floating because they've not anchored themselves in the job at all. Those who have anchored with me, like Hourglass, they stay with me, they grow with us. And like I'm telling them now, today, you don't have to grow just in Hourglass. I remember picking the ones I wanted to Melbourne, to Sydney, to Gold Coast. So you give them a position elsewhere so that they can grow to be managers because you need the knowledge, you need their skills, you need their understanding, you need to develop the next team. When I see the government asking the younger people to go, I would say, please don't, okay? It's just like the .com days. I remember I had this thing about logistics already, putting in all the instinct logistic was coming in with me. And they were giving me 40 over million. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. Because you suddenly want me to grow like to another 10 places. You can't. You just can't. You can't change. Because when you go there, it takes me at least a year to 2 years to understand the culture, who are my competitors, who are the suppliers, who are your customers, what is your target base, how do you reach them. I was very fortunate when I went to Sydney in 94 when I had the shock that my sister would then um, engage a PR firm who invited to our opening Lady Mary Fairfax. And at that time, the bank of UOB, that was OUB Bank, and a few others. And they stayed with me and they said, Jannie, why don't we do a charity together? So I said, why not? East West Foundation. East is East, West is West, let's bridge it. So I used the Hourglass space and we funded it, to raise funds. And Mary gave her home in Rose Bay. And her funds was for the Sydney Opera Foundation. And my funds was, at that time, King Lin, a good friend, whose son has a hearing problem, the cochlear implant. So then we had Burberry's at that time. So I used our team to get prizes for auction and sell tables. That time I had Michael Grace from Grace Brothers. He was my CEO, executive director, so he ran the place for me when I was not there. And at my home at that time in Warner Road, when I was looking over Rush Cutter there, I have my home there. I need a home base when I'm there. So I set myself up properly, and then I had good people. And then I had my sister and an Australian to come who learned how I set it up with new staff. And that's how we grow. At the end of the day, then we started moving on. So I'm always believe, and when I set up in Gold Coast, I brought Hourglass people there. I bought 2 houses for them to stay together so that I don't want them to stay away. So they stay together, they live together, they work together. So when you make them comfortable at home, then everything is good. And I think this is one of the success of Hourglass today in Australia and globally. We treat everyone as family. And they are growing with us as family. There's Japan and all. So I would say that is our Hourglass success because you don't have to train people on mindset and attitude. They're already feeling like family. We already treated them like internal customers, all with respect. And Hourglass team, in fact, the thing that has come most up to me was my staff. The recent one is Florence. She had cancer. She came back from 3 weeks in Hanoi to set up the system. She came back. She then felt not well. She had cancer. And within a few months, she went. So we were really upset. Okay. And so even for me, I go and see her and all the staff, of course, go and see her. And during her funeral, we took care of everything. So she's the first one that I know. And any staff, we pay for everything, because where there's cancer or whatever it is in the family, and we all go and see them and we take care of all the medical, we take care of all the funeral expenses so that they are family and everyone visits. And I think this year, because I experienced it this year, it makes a lot of difference because it doesn't matter whether the boutique managers or where they're from here, everyone was there for them because they feel that this family, because she set up from here to Australia to everywhere, she's the founder to set up all the MIS system or whatever it is. So when I realized that, and there's another Peter Chong, I remember when he was working in Seoul here, I used to have to borrow watches from him because I set up my new shop and I didn't have a lot of stocks. And then he started working with us. And he was one that services the Sultan of Johor, okay, the Sultan, and he's the main one. So he just died last year before last, at 80. So again, everyone is there, and we still feel the loss. And even he'll say, look, how are you? Where are you? And our staff, even if they're retired, they'll still buy food for me and will buy for. So it doesn't matter. We have the family feeling of being together. And that's something I would say is unique to Hourglass. But it's just not me. It's all the old staff. Because when I was last looking at the anniversary of 25, I mean, there are 40 of them just in Singapore. There are 40 of them. So then when I look at it, that's the base of Hourglass. The retailers. Even when I go there, sometimes I see someone, how long have you been? 20 years. I say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't remember you. Or 20 over years, or at least 8 years. And they're there. This is the core team of Hourglass. They could be shifting around from different boutiques, but that's the core team. And today, the service standard, Amanda is still there. They train, even Michael, they train them on the service standard initially. When we open new boutiques, he stands there. He makes sure that he's the number one. Then Amanda, they go and they're number one. And now if I go down, I'll tell them the history of where we are so that they relax a bit more. They're not so, they don't have to be formal with me. So it is the informality that we are family with each other, that I'm just one of them. And that's the key, that there's no hierarchy. And I tell them, no hierarchy. I'm sorry. Okay. We are all the same. I don't want hierarchy. I mean, we are the same. We are salespeople. We take care of each other. We eat together. And I'm the most informal of the whole lot. So when they see me so informal, initially they don't know how to do. But now they realize that we can be informal. And now even with Michael, they're more informal. I always say no hierarchy, please. Michael, he's your boss. I'm your boss. I'm the boss. So there's no boss. We're all just functional. In what we do, he does his function, I do my function. But if I see that they're inefficient, it's my right to tell everyone. Like recently, the MIS system, I also realized that what has happened is the MIT, we are paying M1 a lot of money, a lot of charges. And I remember when I set up with my BlackBerry back in 1999, email was with pivotal system. So I called him. I said, can you do it? He said, of course I can. I can take over. So I said, why you not? So I then put them together and now we save money, not having M1, but transmitting to our own. We're taking care of the family, businesses and all. So there are lots of ways that we can save money. But you as a CEO must walk around, must meet the people, ask the right questions, and they will tell you what it is. And from there, you can sense what is right and what is not right. And then you give the feedback across the line to the divisional heads, which now are compartmentalized, to make sure that there's no more. I'm telling you, I'm also telling that person. But everyone is sharing the same goal. Like if I go to Ion, I suddenly see people standing there. I say, why are you doing that? Oh, yeah, we've got customers, but we have no stocks. I said, no stocks, why? Allocation, really? Then I've got to come back and say, okay, who is allocating? Why are you paying rental? When you know that they don't have the stocks because they've allocated it and they don't get it, and therefore they miss out the chance of a profit, not because there are no customers, but because there are no stocks. Now that becomes a different challenge. Now, if I'm not walked down, I would not have found out. And no one would have found out because they don't know. If you talk to the GM, I need it, they think there is a complaint, right? And their hands are tied. But then they can rebalance stocks, which now they're rebalancing the stocks. They've changed the profile of the stocks. But now they're happy because they've got stocks. Because to me, it doesn't make sense. So the feedback goes right up to Michael, I'm sure, who wants a business but has no time to visit because his role is spent more with doing the global work and the regional work and all that. And the new managers are just called retail managers, but they're not retail managers. They're just looking at numbers. but they don't create the numbers. That's why when they're talking about board, none of the boards will know the business. In the past, the board will come and ask. But today, a board member is just listening. It doesn't make sense. You don't know the business. You think you're only looking at numbers. And I think this is where I can see things. If it goes wrong, they can blame the board. I say, okay, do you blame the audit chairman? Do you blame the remuneration chairman who's doing these things? What would the board member know? They're running a business. If they don't even walk and talk the talk, they don't even understand the business. What are we talking about with all this listed company talking about increased board? So proud to have board members. But why? What do you do? I'm not on the board. I'm not on the board. I don't want to be on the board. I see discussion is only on financials, but the financials that are developed and made by me, my team on the ground. And you don't even know the ground. You don't even walk the shop. You don't even know the managers. So what are you managing? What numbers? What investment? There's no investment, only in stocks. Turnover. So this is why I'm very skeptical of going to buy shares. I have no more shares on anyone. You can't. The world has changed so much. Every young person, if you really want to be able to go and earn money for yourself and grow slowly on your own. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, look, for every one of us, all I'm sharing is we'll face all sorts of situations. It's how we want to do it ourselves, and you can't let anyone else help you. Today's world in 224, if you want to do something, you do it. Like you took the initiative, how many times you come to me? It's not the company, it's you. Because you're interested to find out something, I don't know what, right? Or you have gone to Hourglass, so you know a bit of something that you want to find out more, what takes, what doesn't take. And hopefully this will make you come out to be an entrepreneur of your own. Because you've got this spirit of wanting to find things out. So the next thing would be, how do I make money for myself? But you can't do it on your own. So have a few partners that you stick together all the time, different strengths. At the end of the day, you have to earn your own income, right? You can't always be on a salary because then you're doing a job. Or even if you're doing a job, you're very innovative. That's why I was happy to talk to you and the other girl. I said, I want to see how to have a strategic to see how to let your talent grow to a different level. To a different level, maybe you can get a group of young people like yourself who wants to be entrepreneur. I'm happy to mentor you all and help you find the, I always say A to C, the shortest route. I mean, I'm terrible because if I go somewhere, I will always keep on taking the wrong route because I don't see what it is in front of me. And I keep making mistakes. And that's my problem. And I don't have a hearing. I have a hearing problem. Before I don't hear. My mind thinks. But now I'm listening more to what actually is the question and what do you really want. I'm now, but because once I know, I call it CIA, constant integrated awareness. You have to try and get that. Because every day and every minute or even every hour, information changes. But like today, I give you a lot of information because it's to the young people. Hopefully, the young people will pick it up for themselves first, what it is that they want. That's the starting point. Okay, what do you want? You can't be a serial entrepreneur. That's why you're wanting to hear. So I did everything from not knowing anything every time. It's just what I want. And then I put it together. And now I'm trying to find the shortest route so I can go A, B, C, D, E. Now I want to find the fastest way to from A to E. That's all I'm doing. And that's being a copycat. Copy someone that's doing it. The worst thing was my Hong Kong friend. When I do my thesis or work, my professor will say, who copied who? I say, I copied my Hong Kong friend, find out how he did it. Then I go to the library and I add a bit more, and that's it. And that's what a master's degree is. So just copy. But take it and spin it to your way. Like Michael, he's working with the same people, give them a different way, combining two things. But I always say you always need a financial person with you if you're not financially, because it's a very nitty-gritty job. If you are creative, and then someone who knows and willing to do the work, to understand what you're doing and follow up with you, and that person to be the integrator. Because or else both are busy. So, but when you've got someone who put the money in and will interested to know, that is the best person, a financier. That's how I joined venture with Metro. He's got finance. He set up the accounting system. He loves whatever I'm doing. He supports me what I'm doing. And I just go, I'm just a super sales girl. Just know your strength. And you're innovative. You found different ways. You do a lot of follow-up. You don't want to let that go. Now that's what I'd like to see. Most people delegate and abdicate. They don't follow up. So after this, you take down notes in 5 or 6 things that you wanted to know. And then you find not many, 3 or 4 people that like to join up with you to do something from this. You need the people with the same energy, willing to learn, willing to put hard work in 24 hours a day, 365 days a week, a year. Complementary. It must be complementary. Trust each other. Open. No hang-ups. Make mistakes is okay. It's just paying to learn. Failures are your stepping stone to success. It's how fast you learn. And I watch my clock, just like you. Time is money. I said, mine is 10,000 an hour. If you can't afford me, I don't, even if you can afford me, if you don't think and do what it said, you will have lost it anyway. Right? Because I come from the ground. I work from the ground. I'm not someone that's coming in. I will not invest in anything unless I build the system up. I will always have ISO standard. If it's our standard is a standard that you know there's a process for all those people who have got processes. You know what you've got to work through. That ISO standard is a must. I don't know whether they do it for small companies, but Hourglass were the first retailer in the world to have ISO. I insist on it. Then the next thing is I have MoveX, now M3, to set up the data system whereby you have everything, all the numbers you want, so that you know where your cash is going, where it's coming from, how it is, what it is. Whatever you want, set that up. Then all you have to do is look at your numbers every day, because your numbers can slip off without you knowing. And that will be in your inventory and your costs. Variable. Am I correct?
Yes.
And then your margins. Once you've got a margin, you find different ways of getting more margin if your fixed cost is already managed and controlled. And that's it. That's business.
Jannie, where can people find more about you? How can they hear more from you? How can they hear your story? How can they follow you?
No, there's nothing. I've not said anything, but I was so impressed last year. Was it British House Media? Home Media? They interviewed me. And when I read what they did, Mayfoot though, I was so impressed that they've got everything about me. This is British. They really know how to dig up information about you. Okay. I was impressed. They wanted me to buy the book. I said, no need. I don't know who to give it to. But anyway, I've got the photo print. Maeve would have it. Now, just about a month ago, by chance, Google came up. So I look at Google. I said, why are they saying, where's Jannie Chan Siew, who's the CEO? Then I started looking at Google. Then I found a lot more things about me that I didn't know was there. Then they refer me to Infomedia, Wikipedia, and Ashton, and YouTube. So actually, I just found out myself about who I am, because don't forget, I'm 79 this year. I forgot everything. I was so busy with my legal work. It was so nice to have my life Okay, I read it. Oh, I didn't know this. Of course, I don't even remember the date. So much things has happened during the lifetime. So it's nice to have. I actually just found out myself. May would have quite a lot. I just found it out myself. So where do people pick things up? I don't know. I really don't know. And I'm shocked because I never keep anything. And I've only two PAs. One is Anne and then there's Maeve in my life. And the other day I went to my home. I picked up all my things. I found stacks of newspaper cutting, which my first did for me. So until they did that, until I go back to dig it up, I wouldn't know I forgot everything about myself. But find it. But I'm interested, truly interested, to support young people like you, which have got the energy, which I know if you're properly mentored, and even if you need funding, I'm ready. Give your funding. Just do it. Don't talk. Because you are new. You are new. You found a niche. Why you want this information, I don't know. Because the people who are listening, but again, it's interesting to link in. I'm beginning to find, but they're all professionals. But you should have a group that is entrepreneur into a linking group. They've got founders only. So you might want to propose to them to founders. Founders are the most likely people that can support young entrepreneurs because we have grown from where you start. And I find the professionals, even like my CFO, I keep telling him every day, get on and hook on and show that you're the one managing the money. I can't get them to get going because the professionals have a different mindset. They have a mindset of doing the job to tick off everything. Okay. And they're very busy doing their work. Well, as entrepreneurs, we're 24 hours. We don't sleep, we don't talk, we're okay. We work round the clock, especially today, global. And I started listening now, which I find it very interesting, to listen to a little bit of CNBC, a bit of Bloomberg, a bit of CIA, not Chinese news, CNA, but a bit of CNN. And I find that to me, the disturbing news is where the world is going. Israel, which is controlling basically, and maybe not so easy to control now that they were mentioning about TikTok. It's because the funders who are wanting to come and buy TikTok are all the people who are funding both the Republicans and the Democrats. So then you've got Gaza, where they're prepared to do it, and 1 minute you're saying that this I learned again from all these people who are sending to me that in Xinjiang they're talking about Muslims. And now you've got Muslims being killed, Palestinian in Israel. So you're beginning to understand the distinctions of what US politics and politicians, where they are together, definitely with Israel, because they're the funders. So they've got to do the right thing. So if money politics is out, and then you look at China, now pushing Russia and China together, they will be winners in the BRICS because they're trade, they're just one businesses. And now they're going on their oil on their own, so who cares? Then the gold would be the most stable currency, you know, because you don't want to be investing in currencies where they can go up and down. I don't think I want to be in any stocks. I've got out of stocks since I lost money when I started Hourglass with no time to take care of stocks. And you can't be listening to people here and there. It's again manipulated by the big boys. So, okay, they don't go. Look at Evergrande. How did that fail? They were giving him bond. They give him dividends from the bonds. They get the first. The bond people get first. The, the buyer suffers. So now the big boss, he suffers too because they wanted the US. So I would say I will not touch any of the US recommendations. Do it on your own. Grow your pot. You will never lose money. You grow your money big, slowly, within your means. Depends on how adventurous you are. Whether you want to go to Indonesia where the cost is lower, go to Malaysia where the cost is lower. I would say go. The cost is low. Be your own entrepreneur there. Malaysians are all entrepreneurs. We're all entrepreneurs. That's where the spirit comes from. Go. Work there. After all, you work there, you live there. I'm going to go to see if I can do my oyster cove there and bring all the Singaporeans there, especially the lawyers. I said, I'm going to get Malaysian lawyers, get the King's Counsel to beat price on this, 1/4 of the price. Now I know how to compete with them. That's me. I see opportunities a lot because the cost is low. Rent, if you've got an apartment, rent out your apartment. There, when all the things comes in, just like before, our parents go to Ipoh. All right, Singapore is too expensive. It's good for those people who are working on government projects. Because they're giving you grants to do it. But if you're just wanting to be entrepreneurs of your own, then I think Malaysia, the cost is lower. You live lower, it costs you lower, you enjoy your lifestyle, get married and have kids. Do it.
Thank you.
That's what.
I was just going to say, to give context for how this happened, I have an online education company called studying.com where we teach people how to build an online e-commerce store. So it's like an online training course that I've ran for the last 7 years. And over the last 3 years, I started this podcast because I wanted to connect with interesting people, learn, listen, and a lot of the insights from the guests I bring on, I apply to my life, I apply to my business. And only over the last 2 to 3 years have I started getting into watches. You know, I recently picked up my third Rolex, and I wanted to talk to founders of all these boutiques and of all these brands. And you're the CEO of Hourglass, so I wanted to reach out to you. So that's the backstory between everything.
Oh, that's because you're interested in watches.
And going to all these boutiques, the way how you have wait lists, you have to show that you're serious, you have to show that you're a true collector, and the whole professionalism, I learned a lot of that, and I've applied it to my education company where now we want to qualify who we teach, who we work with. So I've been taking a lot of lessons.
Okay, that is the service standard. Yeah. So do you want to grow this type of business more, or do you take an offshoot from here to at the same time go into a line of business that you can utilize what you have, that you're already doing it, right? Using the methods of growing your business. So the other way probably is to grow your business to another country. You know, Malaysia, they may have people that have not thought of what you're doing. At the end of the day, with your time, it's a revenue that you could get with your time. And you could have a lot more of these. But yourself being the central, you get the information. That's what I do. And from there, I set up businesses, training my people to do it, not me, because my time is more expensive. But that's why I'm sharing with you that depending on what any of the people who are listening today, that is your clients or that is subscribing to you, all right? They may then have other things that they want. You might just have another group that you can get feedback from and distill it and then create another thing that they could learn from you. Your take-home value, your 3 points. Then the next thing is how to do it. How can they do it? So that they get a value out of it now. You've learned one way, but keep on learning what more value so that you can grow your base more because they've got your take-home, we call it take-home value. 3 things each time, every day, so that they keep coming and recommending, they always recommend a friend to you or 2 friends to you. create that value to them. What value more can you get to them at the moment you're agreeing value to yourself? The next one is give value to them. Once they get the value, they'll come back to you for more. Then ask them what they want to know more about for their businesses. And probably you can pull 3 traits from there, right? That's all you need to do, 3 things each time. So you've done good. You've taken time to this. You've now explored this. Now give your customers the value. Ask them what they want from all these that you are learning from. So I didn't give you about watches because there's nothing about watches, but I wanted to know young people like you. That's me, out of my interest, to see how I can, because I see so many of you are so talented now. So how can I bring more out of you for yourself?
And a lot of this next generation, they want to learn how to start an online e-commerce business. And that's how I got started. And now I'm teaching people how to do it. And I'm working every day to make the program easier, give the customer value, guide them through the process. But it's hard because you sell 100 books. 99% of people will not read the book. 1% will read. So I need to incentivize them to learn and go. So every day I'm trying my best to make it easy for them to read the book, to complete the course. And that's what I'm trying every day.
Is that the best way for you to look at the dollar and cents? Look at the time. If you put a value of the dollar and cents, it's very hard to get people to do things hard.
Yes,
I don't think you can get that.
I can't.
Not a book. Okay, you have to find a way to give them the nuts of it. Maybe, like I say, 3 things, 5 things, 10 things. The book is only a reference that they go to. But the key is to find out, why do they want to join you, to learn from you? Ask them, what are the 3 things? Turn it the other way around.
Now, my ideal customers are people who are late 20s, early 30s. They work a 9-to-5 job. They're not happy. They don't have enough time for their family. They don't have enough time for their future kids. They can't buy a house. So they want to start their own business. So they come to me to learn. But after 3-6 months, it gets difficult. Life hits them and they give up, or they slow down and they go back to their 9-to-5 job.
But they're not suitable. Look, not everyone can do an online business because it needs merchandise. All right? Either you're selling something or not. Am I correct? It's a product that you're selling.
We do this business model called drop shipping, where you can build an online store and sell other people's product, so you don't have to invest in stock.
So in other words, what they do is they pick up products that they already like themselves, that they find value for, that they are already the people who, I see a lot of people now selling this sort of things. Okay, that they themselves are the testers. They know the value, they like it, and therefore they recommend it. And then they just hook up to the other place and do the delivery direct. Am I correct?
Yes, and it's all done online. It's similar to a consignment model where you don't
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
make the difference.
So then it's up to them to pick the product that they like, that they can then have this product range that others would buy from them. And they're just the middle person. That's
Yes.
what I hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I help them pick the products, I help them build the store, and it's hard. And I try to make it easy for them.
Yeah. It's hard because they themselves have no reach. It's hard to get a reach out because then they have to pay, I'm sure, to get the reach in whatever, in Facebook or whatever it is. That's what the advertising dollars. So they've got to spend their money before they can get their reach, before they can make their money.
or they can learn how to do organic marketing, put on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and get free reach if you do good content.
So to do what they can buy, make their own.
They can upload videos on all the social media platforms and get free reach, where you don't have to pay any money for reach for free when you post on social media.
Yeah, but do they give you the profile as to what they like and how they want to do it? How many of them are there that will follow through to you or have successfully succeeded?
If I've worked with maybe around 300 to 500 students over the last 7 years, and maybe 10 to 20 are now successful. They're living their dream life. They make a lot of money. So it's a very small percentage.
And where are they from?
Globally, New Zealand, Australia, America, global, since it's an online course.
What type of products?
They sell anything from baby hampers, hair growth serums, LED face masks.
Whatever they like themselves, yeah.
Correct.
So right now I've been focused on the education company, and I'm still very early in, and I'm gonna try not give up and keep going until I hit the 20-year mark. I think you're right. Once you hit 20 years, that's when you have something that is well oiled, and I'm gonna keep going, and you've motivated me.
Actually, I was successful. I'm lucky. I was successful immediately the first year. I started with wanting 200,000 per month, but end of first year, I did 1 million a month turnover. And then I wanted to list it. So Joby said, okay, we'll put together with Transmarco. I sold my shares. We started the company at 1.5 million. I put in, 700. So by the time I joined in to put in Transmarco, it was 2 million, where I got 10% shares, so it's 2 million. So that's not bad. That's double. And today, then I bought back the company at 11 million. And today is over $1 billion. So I'm very profit orientated. So therefore, and that's the reason I sell. I'm a sales girl. So that's where we are.
Interesting. And
But anyway, but this is where we are. I hope that by listening to me, that you would have got ideas, but I'm happy to mentor you anytime.
Thank you, Jannie. I really appreciate your time. I know your time is valuable. I learned a lot today. You have a wealth of knowledge. We could talk for hours and hours, but I know your time is valuable. But thank
Well,
you.
we actually 2 hours already. Wow. Okay. Take care.
Thank you very much, Jannie.
Anything I can help you with your business, let me know.
Thank you, Jannie. Guys, if you made it this far into the
Because
podcast,
at the moment, it's only on your time. You have to be able to see how to leverage your time. That's the other thing.
yes,
That's the other thing you've got to think about.
yeah.
Okay.
thank you, Jannie. I really appreciate your time. Guys, if you made it this far, this is the end of the podcast. Really appreciate your time, guys. Hopefully you guys got value from this episode with Jannie, Dr. Jannie, and I'll see you guys next week on another episode of the podcast. Peace.
Thank you. When I started Hourglass, I was thinking there must be a budget that you have in mind. I thought about it for 200,000. Then I aimed for 1 million, and I did it the next year. So that's where I am. Okay. And now I don't know, now we're $1 billion company group-wise. So, I'm speaking to you with someone that if you're continuing, there may be other things that you might be interested in. Okay. Anyway, YouTube, you'll find me there too. I mean,
Yeah.
they did the Canon. I mean,
So,
anyway, I can't find things that I would like to see. See you. Take care. Thank you.
thank you, Jannie.
Bye.